morning. Welcome to the King's Report for December 20th, 2017, 8th year of Cheongi, the 11th month and the third day. And I'm Tim Miller, and together with Greg Knoll, we're here representing the second king of Cheongguk, Hyung Moon.
Wow.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Yes.
Co-heirs with Christ.
Yes. And I'm feeling good because I just come off of an hour and a half of speaking with my wife.
Oh, wonderful.
It's been in Korea now for about a month now, and she'll be returning in a couple of weeks, reporting on the situation there, while she takes care of our new grandchild.
Wonderful. Little boy?
It's a boy. Yes, it's a boy. Current weather, 41 degrees and clear. That's very warm for this time of year.
It's very nice out. A little breezy.
A little breezy,
Yeah,
yes.
very nice.
But very, very warm temperature outside for this time of year. And that's interesting because today the high temperature is 39 degrees. So it's all downhill from here. Yes, and tonight's going to go down to 18. So it's going to be quite a difference between tonight and tomorrow night. Tomorrow we are expecting a high of 34. And I said yesterday that they're not going to have a white Christmas, but I shouldn't have spoken so quickly, because now we have a snow forecast for Christmas Day, it looks like. Let me check once again. That's what I was taking a while ago.
It's supposed to be a lot of rain on Saturday, right?
Yes, but on Sunday we now see a high of, on Monday, that's Christmas Day, see a high of 33, and snow and sleet possible.
Could be a nasty travel day.
Yes. Let's see here. But they're not. They show snow and sleet possible, but then in the accumulation they give 0. So I don't know what's going on. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go to our Rima for today. I'm in Psalm 37. Psalm 37. Starting at the verse 35 and going to the end, verse 40. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together, the end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in a time of trouble. And the Lord shall help him and deliver him. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him. The Bible often talks about how, even though the evil may seem strong, that it is going to pass away. And this is certainly one of those passages. And and this is the Rima that God has given us, the True Father has given us this morning, that even though the powerful deep state seems so strong, but don't worry, because it's going to pass away. I sought him, but he could not be found. I don't know why he sought him.
Make sure he was really dead.
I don't know why he was dead. Just let him go. Why go looking for him? But anyway, it says, mark the perfect man. So perfect man, of course, is True Father, and mark means then to measure ourselves against him, or make him as our model, and to make him as our model, so that we always are emulating him. We tend to, emulate other people, right? Stars, and especially, I guess, young people want to dress like the famous singers or actors or actresses or something like that. But we want to mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, and for the end of that man is peace. That really didn't hit me so much when I was reading this for the Korean broadcast, but it hits me very much now. That if you want peace, you always have to go the path of righteousness. Although that seems counterintuitive in many ways, in many cases. People make excuses that, I have no choice. I know this is wrong, but I don't have a choice. But we do have a choice. And if we want peace, we always have to go the path of righteousness. Behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. So the end, the end of the path that person is going, in other words, the where that person is eventually going to end up is peace. That is peace.
If you think about it, the how is evil going to be? Is it just magically going to go away? It's going to go away because of the upright man being righteous,
Yes.
and standing up against evil.
Yes.
The King's been talking a lot about this welfare mentality that we just want God and Christ to do it all. But actually, as co-heirs with Christ, we need to stand up and be righteous against evil.
That is such an important point that he's been making.
You know,
That when Christians think that when Jesus comes, he's going to be a despot. He's going to just say, "You do right." Ain't the way it works.
and just kind of zap the evil people.
Yeah, because we have 5%. And, and that idea of 5% is really an incredible teaching that the Father gave us.
Yeah.
That human beings have our 5%, that we are responsible, and that we must become the owners of Cheonryuk. Becoming the owner of Cheonryuk means to be a 5%, to accomplish our responsibility. I mean, 5%, this is the comparison between our responsibility and God's responsibility. Of course, 5% for us means our entire 100% of our effort, and even more than that, we have to do. But we are responsible to bring about God's kingdom on this earth. Yes.
Yeah, and I think peace. The Bible's been hijacked by what Pastor the King has been calling them. What's that term? Glitterbug.
Glitterbug.
Glitterbug. Glitterbug.
Hello,
preachers.
Joel Osteen. Are you listening?
So the Bible's been hijacked, where peace has now kind of like a beta kind of male thing, that Jesus, in his image of, in this false image of peace, feminized Jesus, floating around in white robes, never got upset, never got pissed off at unrighteousness, and was just turn the other cheek kind of Jesus. But the King's been putting an emphasis, actually, peace is through strength. Peace is through being prepared and standing up against evil and be willing to give your life. And that's really the Jesus that lived.
Yes. Iron Rod Ministries.
That's right.
And the King is talking about...
Rod of Iron.
Rod of Iron Ministries, yes, thank you. And the King is talking about writing a book about, I should not...
it's a teaser.
It's a teaser, all right? He's getting a revelation now to write a book.
Oh, wonderful.
So this is going to be...
Great.
This is going to be very, very interesting to see what comes out. Yes. As he drives around the country.
in his Rod of Iron ministry Jeep.
Rod of Iron ministry Jeep, yes.
2018 is going to be an exciting year.
Yes, it is. Although, it's going to be exciting in good ways and I think bad ways as well.
Well, the bad is good.
Yes. But as it says in this morning's Rima, I have seen the wicked in great power. We have certainly seen that. And spreading himself like a green bay tree. I don't know exactly what a bay tree is, but apparently it's a big tree.
Interesting. Yeah, it's probably a far-reaching tree with a huge root system.
And large and branches that go way out. Yeah. So that everything seems to cover everything. Yeah. Hiding the sun. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright. For the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together, and the end of the wicked shall be cut off. Not sure what he's going to cut off. Anyway, get into that. No, we'll pass over that. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help him and deliver him. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him.
That's you.
So that's the key, isn't it? That we have to trust in God.
That's right.
That we have to trust in God. So difficult sometimes. And I know it's difficult for people, people who, I was just discussing with my wife how she went to Korea and she called, many of our friends and other members of the 6,000 Couple Blessing, and she was talking about how many people know that the King is right, that the King is the people in Family Federation, who are still attending services in the Family Federation churches, They tell her, yeah, we know that he's right. We know that he's the inheritor, that he is the representative body of true Father. We know all that, but we can't leave, because if we leave, we lose our pay, we lose our friends and all this and that. So just wait, though. As soon as the Han mother dies, then we'll be with you. This is what they're saying. This is what many people she found are saying. And it's very sad because we have to go the path of righteousness. But in order to do that, we have to trust in the Lord. We have to trust in the Lord that even if we step out onto a path that looks dangerous and looks difficult, and it may be difficult, I mean, losing your job is not an easy thing, especially if you don't have savings to fall back on. It can be a very, very difficult thing, and it could become. Ministers in Korea most of them are provided housing by their churches. In many cases, they live in the church or in the same building as the church. So, to resign from your ministry means that you have to move out of that house immediately. And you have no place to go. But you know what? This happened. This was the case with Reverend Lee, Reverend Sang-yeol Lee, when he came to Sanctuary Church. This was his case, and he had to actually move into a room. He and his wife had to move into a room in a relative's house. I'm not sure what the situation is now, but yeah, it can be very difficult. Likely it will be very difficult because there's certain, judgment that's going on here. But it is a necessary thing. There was an incident where a person who had participated in the creation of these new heretical texts of the Family Federation, after he had done this, he realized that and he received money for it. He received about $3,000 in Japanese currency, and he decided that he could not accept this money, and so he tried to offer this money to the king. And in actual paper notes, he brought it, or not himself, but he had someone else bring it. And the king said that he would not receive those. He said that this money is so dirty that it cannot be received. And he instructed that this money be taken out and burned. And so I and a couple of other people took that money behind the church, and we set fire to those banknotes, and we burned them. We burned them. The ashes may be still back there. So that is the money that these people are receiving, is that kind of filthy money that they are receiving. It's money that is best not received. So that is the public funds are very, Father talked about how dangerous and fearful public funds are. And people who are receiving money from the Family Federation today are participating in the misuse of public funds, because all those public funds Father intended them to be inherited to his representative body and inheritor, but instead they've been inherited to a usurper, and so they're being misused. So anybody who receives those funds is a co-conspirator, is participating in a crime. Participating in a crime. Receiving stolen goods. That's a crime, isn't it? Yeah. That's a crime. Receiving stolen goods.
When it belongs to the Lord of the Second Advent, it's a very serious crime.
Yes. So that's that. All right, let's go to our Cheonsongyong Rima. Today we're talking about, here we are in the chapter on blessed families, chapter 3, and we're in, wait a second here, what happened? Okay, let me. Okay, here we go. Okay, I thought for a minute I lost my place, but not so. Not so. It is right here. Satan does that sometimes. You know, he makes you think you're lost when you're actually in the right place. All right, this is page 1408 in the English Chun Song-gyung. We're in the book on blessed families, chapter 13 and number 13. This is in English. I notice it's translated as already married couples. In other words, people who are married before they come to the blessing. They may be married before they meet the principal, something like that, and so they come to the church already married. And this section is talking about already married couples, and this paragraph is about them, but how their blessing is a little bit different from other blessings. Fathers, these are words that fathers spoke in 1970. There is a problem with the already married couples. If they were to go to the spirit world, the English is maybe, but anyway, if they were to go to the spirit world, they would see that they are different from other blessed couples. In the spirit world, the blessing received by single virgin men and women is very, very different from that of already married couples. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. There are 3 levels in the spirit world, just as today's society is divided into upper, middle, and lower classes. Among the 36 couples divided into 3 groups of 12 respectively, representing Adam's, Noah's, and Jacob's families. Which group is the most precious? It is the third. In the future, you will have to serve them. At the moment, we are not distinguishing them from each other because the time to do so has not yet come. But that does not mean they are the same. They are very different. Now, this Rima reminds me of the situation that has transpired as a result of the Han mother's betrayal and her great crime on a cosmic level. One of the important results of that, which we need to understand, and this is part of the reality that we face today, is that we have a lot more already married couples than perhaps most people realize. Han Mother presided over what she referred to as Foundation Day in February 2013. But that was a false Foundation Day, of course, because Father was not present. She had effectively divorced Father and instead united with the Archangel, united with Satan in that ceremony. So that ceremony was held under the supervision and control of Satan. I was there and many people were there, and we did not realize this at the time. We participated, frankly, in good faith, although we were not, I'm not saying that we were without sin, because we also bear some responsibility in the Han Mother's failure in that we did not speak up more loudly. We did not take a stronger ownership position. You know, many of us felt that something was going on that was wrong, but still we participated there. But as a result of that ceremony, all of the blessings that of those of us who participated in that ceremony, both in Korea and around the world, all of us who took the holy wine that was associated with that ceremony, had our blessings taken away by Satan. When Father came to this earth, he brought the Word and he brought the lineage. And especially the lineage is the Messiah's mission to bring God's lineage to this earth. And he plants that lineage on the earth, and then through his own physical family, but also he spreads that lineage throughout the world through the blessing. And Father created many hundreds of millions of blessed couples while he was on this earth, while he was in his physical body. So Satan's objective then was to erase that accomplishment, to take away those blessings. Of course, he tried to take away the Word by corrupting the Word. by corrupting the Cheonsonggyong and by corrupting the family pledge and others. But even more so, he wanted to take away all those blessings that had been given by Father while he was in his physical body. And his main attack on that point was the false foundation day of February 2013. So it is not Hyung who declared those blessings invalid. It is Satan who took them away, and the Han Mother who allowed Satan and united with Satan in that effort of Satan to take away those, Satan's attack on those blessings, Satan's attack on Father's foundation. And we were unwitting participants, although we're not completely without sin but responsibility, but we were unwitting participants in that tragedy, in that tragedy. The February 2013 false foundation was a tragedy of enormous proportions. It represented the final fall of the Han Mother, of her final unity with Satan, and represented Satan's attack on the blessings that Father had given throughout the world during his time on earth. So Father laid a course for his representative body and inheritor, Hyung to come into the wilderness and to go a course then to reconnect with Father. And fortunately for the world, fortunately for us, and we are eternally grateful to Hyung for doing this, he followed that. He did that with absolute obedience. He did that with absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience. And as a result of that, a way was opened us for us to be able to reclaim the blessings that Father gave to us. And Father gave us 3 years from the time of that tragic foundation day, that false foundation day of 2013. 3 years' time until his birthday in 2016. 3 years' time. And 3,000, more than 3,000 families actually throughout the world responded to that call and returned to Father's authority by that deadline. And those families, and if we figure that there was at least one child per family, maybe a little more, then we can say that 10,000 people returned to True Father's authority during that time period that Father gave us, up until his birthday in 2016. February, 16th? That Father's birthday, the 6th day of the new year of the new heavenly calendar year of that year. So February 16th, I believe. Anyway, Father's birthday. Now, of course, after that also, people are able to return to True Father's authority. And they are returning. Many people have returned to True Father's authority after following that as well. Those people, although they were blessed as this English translation says, single virgin men and women by Father originally, whether as 1,800 couples or 777 or 6,000 or 30,000 or 360 or whatever, 6,500 or whatever, although they were blessed as single virgin men and women at that time, now they are returning to True Father's authority as already married couples. So it's different. It's different. And according to Father's words here, to the Rima that he has given us, this difference will become more and more apparent as the providence goes on, and this difference will become quite apparent in the spirit world. But we need to be and of course, even after Father's birthday in 2016, Satan then tried to, the Family Federation tried to attack those blessings by requiring everyone to then take their poison wine again. It's not holy wine; it's poison wine, because drinking the Family Federation wine is poison. That is spiritual poison. That in that day you shall die. That is like committing the fall. Satan is even attacking those. And so, and of course, there's always a way to return. But then return then is to come back then as already married couples. Mm-hmm. And so it is really, really important. That is why it's important for us to, at this time, when Satan still is attacking the blessing, trying every way to try to attack the blessing, that we maintain the blessing and understand its value and understand how precious this is for Father's providence. Last Saturday, was it, when we were talking about free sex and free marriage? Was that Wednesday or Saturday? Do you remember?
Wednesday, I think.
Was it Wednesday, last Wednesday? When we read about how...
Yeah, you said there was a difference
between
free sex
and so that was
family,
last week. Yeah. So that was last week. So already married couples basically are, people who, from the providential point of view, free marriage couples, you could say. And Father was in that Rima last week Wednesday, Father was talking about how he was talking against free marriage, that the parents need to be involved in the marriage, and that, of course, from a providential point of view, parents would be, of course, parents with a capital P. Father must be involved in our marriage, in choosing our partner. So already married couples are basically free marriage couples, you could say. And there's salvation there, don't worry, there's salvation, but Father's just saying that there is a difference. There is a difference. And so also with our children, they need to know too that there is a difference. There is a difference. Even among, imagine second generation couples, if second gen are just choosing their own spouses, that's different from the parents being involved. There is an eternal difference from a marriage where the parents are involved. Yeah. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, it's always a challenge to, I was reflecting on what your wife was experiencing with people saying it's kind of the path of least resistance. God always challenges us to take a difficult path, a leap of faith. You don't know. It's like stepping into darkness. You think you're leaving everything of value behind, and God always requires that of the providence.
Yes.
So I think you kind of it's required of us to step forward in faith, and that I was reminded of that passage in the Bible where Jesus says, "Depart from me, I never knew you." You may say, "Lord, Lord." So a lot of people think they're following Father. They've justified in their minds somehow, but in reality they have separated, and they have to come in repentance back to God. But you like to say there's always a pathway back, but it has to be done with the right heart. I know there's been some people that have come with the wrong heart to approach the king, the second king, and he's very sensitive about that. And will reject anybody without the right attitude of repentance and humility.
Indeed. Various things are running through my mind right now. We always need to be centered on God.
Yeah.
Centered on God. To always go the righteous path. One thing that I was thinking of when in Jesus's temptations, in his 3 temptations, basically Satan said, "Hey, just bow down to me. I'll give you all the food you want. I'll everything in the world I'll give to you. I'll make you ruler of this world. All you have to do is bow down to me."
The king was really confronted with that, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He could have had everything.
Yes,
materially.
Yes,
and even all the faithful. Everything was he had to leave everything behind in order not to fall into that temptation.
And he was specifically tempted by people close to him, who said to him, he reports, just keep quiet.
Yeah, be patient.
Be patient. And just wait until she dies.
Right.
And then everything will be yours. Wow. How much clearer does Satan speak than that? But this is how, this is the word that people heard from Satan, and they bowed down to that.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get him to bow down as well.
Yeah.
Some people that worked very close with the king when he was in Korea said this to him. He's given specific names of people who said that to him. But he chose not to bow to Satan, bowing only to the true Father. Wow, that is so important.
Yeah,
that is so important. These holy days that we have, we come and we gather and we bow to true Father. That is the only person to whom we bow down to. We do not bow down to Satan. Do not bow down to Satan.
And the king goes forward every day in faith.
Yes.
From my limited vantage point, he is every day seeking God's guidance, and Father is directly guiding him in his providence.
Yes.
And he himself, as a person, may not exactly know what the next step is, but through his prayer and through his obedience to Father reveals to him every step of the way.
Yes. Yes.
And that's happening. It's like living. It's the living gospel.
Yes.
Yeah. Very exciting times.
It is being revealed to us as we go along. Because, the perfection stage is a stage that where no one really teaches you, okay, here's the path, here's the map. You got to find it yourself.
Yeah.
And you find it by asking God, reporting to God and asking God. This is what Adam and Eve did not do.
Yeah.
This is what Lucifer is telling me. Is he right? Is this okay? They didn't do that. But if they had done that, God would have guided them. This is Father's teaching. All right, shall we take a break now?
Yeah.
And we'll come back with some news now. We have some good news after this break, though.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Welcome back to the King's Report, December 20th, 2017. Tim Elder and Greg Knoll in for the second king of China, Hyung Moon. And Merry Christmas, tax bill. And of course, this has been reported, and the glitch has been reported widely as well, and the reason this is that there are certain rules in the Senate. And the way that they, of course, in the Senate, there's this 60-vote cloture rule. In other words, the House and Senate are different in that in the House, members' time for speaking is limited. They're assigned a certain amount of time. Whereas in the Senate, theoretically, senators can get up and speak forever, theoretically. And so in order to stop that, they have what's called the cloture rule, which says that any time that there are 60 members of the Senate who want to stop the debate, then it can be stopped. And so effectively, for any law to pass, basically, it kind of needs 60 votes in the Senate. But there are exceptions to that. And one is what they call the budget reconciliation period or bill. And in that case, 60 votes is not necessary, according to Senate rules. And it can be that Senate, a budget, or in this case, the tax bill can be passed simply by a simple majority because it's being handled as a budget reconciliation bill. Now, there are exceptions to that. Following me? Is that to qualify for that majority vote, there cannot be any matters of policy in the bill. In other words, it has to be only about money. and not about
budgetary,
policy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Only about budget and not about policy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the House passed its tax, and they worked this out in conference, and they came up with the same language and things like that, and then the House took it back and they passed it. And then when the bill got to the Senate, the Democrats went through it and found that there were a number of matters of policy in that bill, and so they raised a point of order, and so those items had to be taken out of the bill before the Senate could pass it with a simple majority vote, which they did, 51 to 48. 99 votes because McCain is back home now. He's kind of sick. So those items had to be taken out. One of the items taken out was one that actually we have some interest in, and that is the Johnson Amendment. It was taken out. The House passed it, and it was in the conference bill, but it had to be taken out in order to qualify for this majority vote in the Senate.
In order for it to be totally a budgetary
yes.
vote.
Mm-hmm. If 60 senators had supported the tax bill, the Johnson Amendment could have remained. Anyway, let's read this. This is in the Baptist Standard. It says, language weakening Johnson Amendment removed from tax bill. Removal of language from the Senate tax bill that would have allowed churches to engage in partisan politics without losing their tax-exempt status represents a victory for religious liberty. Advocates of church-state separation insisted. That's what they say. But is this really the Baptist Standard, not the Catholic Standard? Anyway, let's look at the facts here. The parliamentary of the U.S. Senate ruled that language undercutting the Johnson Amendment, a 63-year-old provision in the tax code that bars not-for-profit religious organizations from making political endorsements, would violate the Byrd Rule, which requires elements of the tax bill to pertain to the budget. It's the Byrd Rule because it's named after former Senator Byrd, and items that are taken out of a bill. This is true. I'm not kidding. The items that are taken out of a bill as regards to the Byrd Rule are called. Can you guess? Bird droppings. I'm not kidding. That's what they actually call it. I didn't make that up. So the Johnson Amendment became a bird dropping. I don't really like the way that article was being written. Let's look at it in the Christian headlines. New tax bill will not repeal Johnson Amendment after all. Language in the federal tax overhaul bill that would have ended the IRS regulation of barring churches from endorsing political candidates has been removed from the bill. The measure called the Johnson Amendment was removed from the tax overhaul bill because it, quote, did not meet Senate rules that require elements of the tax bill to have something to do with the budget, unquote. The Johnson Amendment was the first introduced in 1954 by then Senator Lyndon B. Johnson. The amendment said the IRS could prohibit churches and other nonprofits from endorsing political candidates. In the 2016 election season, then presidential candidate Donald Trump promised to repeal the amendment. Quote, I think maybe that will be my greatest contribution to Christianity and other religions is to allow you, when you talk religious liberty, to go and speak openly. And if you like somebody or want somebody to represent you, you should have the right to do it, unquote, said Trump at a June 2016 gathering of about 900 evangelical leaders and pastors. Then, as president, Trump signed an executive order calling for the end of the Johnson Amendment. The House of Representatives then added a provision that repealed the amendment in their version of the tax bill. This is a huge win, and we should take a moment to celebrate. But then we have to get back to fighting to protect the Johnson Amendment, said the group Americans United for Separation of Church and State. Meanwhile, conservative groups weren't happy with the language removal. Thanks to President Trump, this will be an election issue from this day forward, the Family Research Council said in a statement. As for FRC, we'll continue to work. We will continue the work we began with the Pulpit Freedom Initiatives until we've legislatively corrected this problem or found a remedy in court. Basically, what it's going to take is 60 senators who will support the removal of the Johnson Amendment. So that is why it's going to be very important that that we support people in the upcoming midterm election next year who will support this Johnson, who will support the removal of the Johnson Amendment.
So they took it out of this act, but it will resurface in the future.
Well, it can. Well, just like anything else, it can surface any time. But right now, for now, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's no longer there. But someone else can, a senator or a congressman can sponsor a bill that repeals the amendment. Of course, that can be done at any time.
Right.
But legislatively, it would be difficult, it would be probably impossible to do between now and the new Congress coming in January of 2019. And that new Congress has to have at least 60 senators and a majority of representatives who will support the repeal of the Johnson Amendment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem. So that did not happen. That's not happened. Of course, the House has to pass that tax bill once again today because those things were taken out in the Senate. Johnson bill amendment plus a couple other things were taken out. So the House has to vote again. That's considered a formality. I don't know, famous last words, right? We'll have to wait and see, hold our breath. But it looks like the House will pass that finally today, and then this tax bill will finally go to the President for his signature before Christmas. So it didn't have the Johnson Amendment repeal. So the Johnson Amendment is still part of the tax code, but we will continue to pray and continue to work on that. And really make this, as the Family Research Council says, we need to make this an election issue and ask our candidates, what is your position on repealing the Johnson Amendment? That's important, because churches are supposed to be in a prophetic role, right?
Right.
Prophets speak to the king.
That's right.
And prophets say, hey, you're wrong on this. This person is right on this, but you're wrong on this. I endorse this person. That should be one of the functions that churches are expected to perform in society.
It's a freedom of speech issue.
It is. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but more fundamentally, I think it goes to the essential function of the church, or other religions, I don't know, but at least the church, the Christian church, Christianity, has to have a prophetic role, the role of a prophet in society. And a prophet doesn't mean that you're predicting the future, right? That's not what the prophet is supposed to do. Prophet is supposed to say, hey, this is the right road, this is the wrong road. Go this way. That's what prophets are supposed to do. That's what Old Testament prophets did. They gave warnings. If you go this way, this will happen. If you go this way, this will happen. So people think of, you're just predicting the future. No. Showing right from wrong. Speaking for God in society. Not Hillary. Trump.
It created a climate, the Johnson Amendment has created a climate where preachers they're very fearful of speaking the truth. And that's where these glitterbug preachers have come about, these state-run religions.
Yes.
And that's very, very dangerous.
Religions, Christian pastors that have bowed to Satan, accepted his material wealth in return for his blessing, Satan's blessing.
That's a problem. But this is the president and this is the Congress and the Senate that can change that.
Yes.
So it's very hopeful. You're right, though. We have to be very active politically in 2018.
So 2018 is going to be an exciting year in that way as well. Yes. Midterm election, very crucial election. We need to be able to increase Trump's foundation in the Congress so that the final 2 years of his first term will be even more successul than the first year has been.
And he has been such an advocate of Judeo-Christian values in America. He is truly God's man.
Yes.
He may have a lot of faults, but he has been faithful to the most important parts of government. He's been very, very faithful.
Okay, let's see what else we have going today. Well, anyway, so that was, I felt, kind of a tragic situation that maybe didn't get covered by the media. In fact, in most of the mainstream media, they didn't even mention the fact that the Johnson Amendment had been taken out. They just said, a few things had to be taken out, not really important, this kind of thing. But anyway, let's look at the main article on Breitbart about the tax bill. Republicans advanced to the 1 yard line to pass historic tax reform. I guess that's pretty much where they are. Yes, but teams can make pretty good
lies. It's not a guarantee. That's right.
We've seen what happens on the 1 yard line sometimes. Fumbles happen,
right.
missed passes happen.
Yeah.
The quarterback can get sacked. So, the Republicans advanced the 1 yard line to pass historic tax reform as the Senate passed the final tax cut and Jobs Act on Tuesday, sending the bill to the House for final passage. President Donald Trump hopes to sign the bill before Christmas. The Senate passed the final Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 51-48 along partisan lines. 51 Republicans voted in favor of the bill, while 0 Democrats voted for the tax reform legislation. And Vice President Mike Pence presided over the vote as the president of the Senate. Of course, it was 51-48, as I said, because McCain right now is back in Arizona. He's having some trouble with his cancer.
But even he was going to vote for this in favor of.
But
so he wasn't able to cast a vote.
No, he was not able to. He had to go back to Arizona.
So you have to be present.
Yeah, you have to be present. Yeah, you have to be present there, and that's the rule. So sometimes, in an important vote, they'll actually bring somebody in on a stretcher. Sometimes, it's a really crucial vote. That's happened. Yeah. The House passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act earlier on Tuesday. However, the Senate parliamentarian ruled that 3 provisions violated Senate's Byrd rule for reconciliation bills. So the House will have to vote on the tax reform legislation again Wednesday. The Senate passed the tax, and then they give some history. Pelosi, then let's see what Nancy Pelosi says just for fun. Worst bill to ever come to the floor of the House and is a looting of America. Pelosi added the bill will install a permanent plutocracy in America. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy argued that lawmakers should vote for the tax reform legislation to raise the paychecks of the American people. And I think we'll have to see what happens, but we should start seeing a change in our paychecks from January. Less money taken out, we hope. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think what's going to happen is that many people will find themselves falling into lower tax brackets, I believe. And that should affect the paycheck. We'll have to see.
Well, this comes on the overwhelming evidence that the economy is doing very, very well, based on Trump policies, and this is something the liberal media just cannot stand.
Yes.
So this is one more evidence that Trump knows what he's doing in terms of negotiating good deals internationally, as well as bringing in lower taxes domestically, so that people can be free from government bondage.
And when liberals talk about the economic success at all, they say it's because of Obama.
Right.
They say, well, because we're still under Obama's budget that was passed last year. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. We'll give you one more year and see what happens. But what are you going to do next year? You're going to still say it's Obama? The ghost of Obama. Yeah, the New York Fed said that they expect that the fourth quarter GDP is growing at a rate of 4%.
That's incredible.
Whoa!
Incredible. Consumer confidence is an all-time high.
Yes.
Unemployment all-time low.
4.1 expected, and the Fed expects unemployment to go to 3.9 next year.
And minorities are experiencing the lowest unemployment in a long time.
Yes, African American unemployment, I think, lowest in 17 years, or something like that. Yeah. And yet they still call him racist.
I know, and he keeps appointing women and minorities to key significant positions. So I think he should stand on a stage with all of his appointees, and I think you'll see quite a diversity in the lineup.
But they're too busy saving the country to be standing on stages. So I guess that's the problem. But yes, this is really going great guns. Speaker Paul Ryan declared today we give the people of this country their money back. Well, not
Jew.
completely.
Well,
not completely.
Some of it.
You're still 10%. You're still more than 10% of the GDP.
Right,
so
but it's a step in the right direction. It's actually a major step. For the middle class to have a 23% reduction is a huge reduction.
Let me correct. I think it means that 23% reduction. No, maybe I'm not sure. I think maybe 23% of the middle class will see it, or 23% of the tax benefits will go to the middle class. I think that's what was being reported. Maybe I'm confused.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see next year, right? We'll see next year how this all pans out. Unfortunately, I think it's not going to have much of an effect on our on the taxes that we file in April of next year. It has to be. We have to sort of wait for this to really take effect, But
this is really a good Christmas present.
Yes, it is, because and I think it will start to affect our paychecks come January. We'll see we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But meantime, let's not forget that America is still on the precipice of financial ruin.
Yes,
that we have.
That's true.
So we're kind of
lurking,
celebrating Christmas tree at the edge of a cliff, right?
That's true. There's bubbles everywhere. They're not necessarily champagne bubbles.
We still have the $20 trillion debt, with the Fed's beginning to raise interest rates. That alone means that the portion of the budget that goes to paying interest rates will increase. And if it goes to a certain point, we won't be able to afford it. We still have states going bankrupt: Illinois, Puerto Rico.
But even Cookchinham said the other day that there could be such extensive growth that we could potentially just rise above all these looming dark issues because of this is Cookchinham's paraphrasing, because of 923, the emergence of the true mother, restoring the failure of the Han mother. All bets are off. There could be incredible prosperity. We just don't know.
Like I said, we're celebrating Christmas at the edge of the cliff. One step in the wrong direction,
right?
And
but thank God for
splat.
Thank God for True Mother.
Yeah, but thank God for True Mother. But if we continue to take steps in the right direction, and I would say that increasing Trump's support in Congress through next year's midterm election will be crucial in that sense.
Yes,
because the Democrats are hoping for the opposite.
Yeah.
They're saying, hey, we're gonna win.
They're very encouraged by Alabama.
Yeah, they're very encouraged by. They're going to say we're going to take control of the House next year. And of course, if that happens, you can bet that they will start impeachment proceedings immediately. And so it's a very, very. We're on a tightrope.
This is where
so
the
far
second.
So good, but we still have a long way to go to the other end of the tightrope. Yep.
And the King has been preaching recently how important the Second Amendment Christians are on many levels. The right to bear arms, of course, but also the getting in these politicians that are going to support Trump in 2018. A lot of that vote is going to be coming from the Second Amendment Christians. So we need to rally together. The body of Christ needs to come together on this central point.
Yes. All right, so let's choose candidates who support the Second Amendment, who support gun rights, and also support the repeal of the Johnson Amendment. All right, let's take a break now. We'll come back in a minute or so with more news from a Chundry Group perspective.
folks. And look at what I've got here today. My God, take a look at this. This is a BFR in 454 Casul with an octagonal barrel, magna porting, micarta grips. And look at that, it even has my initials on it, JM. Look at that thing of beauty, my God. Pop open the cartridge insertion door, and look at that cylinder spin. The finest revolvers in the world. That's a cannon. That's a cannon. Oh, man. Pretty accurate, though. That's our target. Oh boy! Massive recoil.
Welcome back to the King's Report for Saturday, no, what is today? Wednesday, December 20th of 2017. Tim Elder, one day goes into another, right? With Greg Knoll, and for the second king of Cheongguk, Hyung Moon. And sort of on the lighter side of the news, although, you know, even light news has heavy implications. Here, U.S. Coast Guard, feds find sea turtle with 800 kilos of cocaine. U.S. Coast Guard officials seized nearly 7 tons of cocaine and an entangled sea turtle during an operation in the eastern Pacific Ocean. The turtle survived the potentially deadly encounter with the drugs that had been set adrift by smugglers. Crew members of the Coast Guard cutter Tethys were on temporary assignment to the Pacific Ocean in late November. The ship and its crew are normally stationed at Sector Key West, Florida. During the 68-day deployment, the crew worked with the Pacific Tactical Law Enforcement Team, an aviation detachment from the Helicopter Interdiction Tactical Squadron, and the Royal Canadian Navy to carry out drug interdiction operations in the eastern Pacific Ocean, the Miami Herald reported. On November 19th, the Tethys launched a small boat to check out a floating debris field. During the investigation, the crew found an estimated $53 million in cocaine floating on the ocean. An endangered species of sea turtle had become ensnared by the lines holding the bundles of cocaine together. The flotilla of drugs consisted of 23 rectangular bundles of cocaine, NBC News reported. Coast Guard Commander Jose Diaz said the drugs were probably abandoned by a go-fast vessel used to smuggle in the area. They probably felt the heat coming in, got rid of it, Diaz told NBC News. The lines became wrapped around the turtle's neck and fins. There were some marks on her neck, so she may have been there a day or two, Diaz explained. In all, 26 bundles weighed approximately 800 kilos. Overall, Operation Martello 27 resulted in the seizure of nearly 7 tons of cocaine, valued at $135 million, officials stated. In addition, the operation resulted in the seizure of 14 pounds of marijuana and the apprehension of 24 smuggling suspects. No word on whether the turtle was included among the 24 smuggling suspects. Sorry, had to say that. But okay, that's kind of the line. But, you know, this, of course, pointing out from a Cheongguk perspective that in Cheongguk, the government cannot ban intoxicating substances. It's part of the Constitution. That does not mean that True Father endorses cocaine or any other intoxicating substance, but it does mean that we don't rely on the government to prevent us from making those bad choices.
They're not very good at preventing anyways.
Yes.
In fact, they get involved in a lot of the illegal trafficking.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, biggest drug pen, right?
Right.
Kingpin, drug kingpin, actually is the U.S. government. And one of the recent, our recent guests on the King's Report was saying this as well, that the government is the biggest drug kingpin. So yeah, and but basically, it's a supply and demand situation. I mean, drug lords and these smugglers are businessmen. They're outlaw businessmen, but they're businessmen. And they're not going to supply a market that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring in these goods and supply them because there is a market for them.
And there's inflated prices because of the way that it's structured. So
right. Well, heroin actually is actually cheaper than painkillers. If you try to buy prescription painkillers on the black market, they are more expensive than heroin, and so that's the reason why many people turn to heroin in America today. Not speaking from direct experience, but this is what I'm told. Maybe we should go to the next story before I get myself into too much trouble. All right. Let's see. I want to go into a story about Obama's treason. The nuclear option amid anti-Trump hysteria, Obama treason exposed. This is Charles Hurt on Breitbart.com. These days we are living through a real-life international spy thriller full of vast conspiracies, lawless rogue government agents, unthinkable betrayals, all driven by stupendous greed and a blithe willingness to lie about absolutely anything. It could be the latest HBO sensation or a binge-worthy hit on Netflix. The first major wormhole moment came after a U.S. Border Patrol agent was murdered in 2010, and guns at the crime scene were linked to the U.S. government. Of course, referring to Fast and Furious, I think. Conspiracy nuts started talking about how the ATF had violated the very federal gun laws the Bureau is charged with enforcing by knowingly allowing straw purchasers to obtain weapons that they would later sell to Mexican drug cartels. That's what Fast and Furious was about. We are talking tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy stuff. Many good people dismissed the claims as preposterous, the daffy product of overactive imaginations and overstimulated partisanship, like monsters underneath a child's bed. Then we learned every bit of it was honest-to-God's truth. Under the Obama administration, our federal government was arming some of our most savage and destructive enemies, purportedly in the name of tracking, in quotes, the bad guys. Since that startling revelation, similarly appalling betrayals and conspiracies have become almost routine. The root causes of such scandal range from alarmingly reckless incompetence to treasonous betrayals of the American people. There was the terrorist attack on the U.S. diplomatic post in Benghazi. Rooted in lazy incompetence, the ensuing cover-up became a labyrinth of lies and false accusations that led to riots and mayhem around the globe. Then the Democratic Party rigged its own primary to thwart the will of its own voters. When then-candidate Donald Trump sounded the alarm, Democrats, even some Republicans, called him a reckless kook and laughed him off. Of course, stolen insider emails have since proved all of Mr. Trump's hunches to be correct. In fact, it was even worse than he predicted. Every day now, we learn more and more about how Democrats, Republicans, and self-serving bureaucrats inside the federal government work to jilt the election out of Mr. Trump's hands. Shamelessly, the Obama administration used our government's most powerful intelligence apparatus to spy on his political opponents during the height of a presidential campaign. That these vermin colluders failed has in no way deterred them. They remain as committed to undoing the Trump presidency today as they were before the election. But the most sinister twist, the most brazen conspiracy caper of all, in this entire spy novel extravaganza we are now enduring, has to be the 8-year scheme by the Obama administration to betray the American people and hand hand unbridled power to one of our most ardent and determined enemies. An extraordinary and thorough report by Political, which, by the way, is not a conservative publication, exposes a vast left-wing conspiracy at all levels of the Obama administration to collude with a terrorist organization in hopes of empowering a nation devoted to the death of America. According to the report, Obama officials pressured federal investigators to back off investigation into huge money laundering, weapons and drug trafficking operations by the terrorist group Hezbollah. The Obama administration offered this protection even as Hezbollah was raking in $1 billion a year and extending its murderous anti-American influence far beyond the Middle East. All in the name of what? Upholding the U.S. Constitution, fighting the war on terror, power in the Middle East, peace in the Middle East? Not hardly. It was all in the name of placating Iran, Hezbollah's patron nation, so that the Obama administration could ink a ridiculously lopsided deal on Iran's nuclear program, a deal that scored Iran hundreds of millions in cash and billions more in sanctions relief. At the very, very, very end of the whole deal, Iran gets to weaponize its nuclear program anyway. If that is not outright treason, nothing is.
Well, Trump's been saying all along that was the worst deal in human history.
Yes.
And that kind of supports that.
Yes. But yeah, as he says, even now, these treasonous forces are working within the bureaucracy of the government. And it's amazing. He didn't mention the FBI here, but it's really astounding to me. In a sense, it shouldn't be astounding, but it is astounding to me anyway, how the FBI has and continues to work as if they are the actual rulers of America, as if they are the ones who actually get to decide who is going to be president and who is not. For FBI agents to be saying, oh, we have to somehow block Trump from becoming president. Or somehow we have to take out an insurance policy just in case he becomes president. This is just astounding to me. This just underscores how our government has become corrupt, that it no longer answers to the will of the people. A man was elected to the presidency according to the Constitution, and the FBI is trying to undermine that, trying to bring about a situation where he can be impeached. It is just astounding to me that we had an article not too long ago about how the FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, was the main fighter against communism and to protect the American Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. But now they are the main underminers of that U.S. Constitution, all in the name of they see their political views as absolute, that we are right. This righteousness, this self-righteousness, religious self-righteousness. They may not think that they're religious, but they are, because they have certain beliefs that they hang on to and hold to, and they consider those beliefs to be absolute. They don't allow for the fact that the other party may have some views too. They don't allow for that fact. They don't allow for that. No, those are Nazis. Those are racists. Those are scum, human scum. They don't deserve to have vaginas. They don't deserve to have penises. They don't deserve to be, if they're black, they don't deserve to be black. They're Uncle Toms, and they just see themselves as the righteous force, as the white knights that are going to save. But that is exactly what leads to despotism,
right,
and to dictatorship. And that is why in the Chunuk Constitution we're not going to concentrate power in the federal government. Power will be disseminated, so that we don't have this kind of a deep state developing in the Chunuk Constitution, because the government will be limited. All government revenues will be limited to 10% of GDP, whereas it's more than twice that now, on the federal level alone. If you include the state and local governments, it's in the 40s.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think when you have that much concentrated power, you get delusional. You begin to think your self-importance rises to such a level that you think you can do no wrong, that you are in the right. And that's very dangerous. That's what happened to Hitler and Nazi Germany and Stalinism, all sorts of examples of this kind of delusional thinking that leads to murder, that leads to the justification of murder.
Yeah, the justification of murder. Yeah, we still don't know. We still have not been able to take Hillary Clinton to court and charge her with.
I'm very frustrated with that.
With murder. Among the many crimes that she's committed, the murder, I would say, is likely to be, if we can find the evidence, to be proven in court.
Now, she's been laying low, it seems. She hasn't been headline news, so I'm wondering if finally the time has come where justice can be served on Hillary Clinton.
We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe 2018, that will be one more accomplishment.
But, I think Trump will have to do 8 years, and we may need Trump Jr. or whatever. No, well, we need
Barron.
Barron may be old enough by the time we get through putting this country on the right course, because it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for us to do this. But we need to keep coming up with candidates that are able to stand with God and leading this country in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
not to absolutize our beliefs, but
right. We have to keep Trump alive in 2018.
Yes, and so that he can finish one term and then 2 terms. So we still have 7 years to go with Trump.
Surely, the only we really need God's help, and we need God's protection over President Trump, because there are forces out there that are very vocal about removing him one way or another.
All right, let's go through some of the other headlines on Breitbart this morning. It's on White House meets with senators to plan amnesty. So now that the tax bill is over, apparently in January, they're going to start talking about what to deal with this amnesty situation for the DACA, or the delayed action. What is it? Anyway, for people who came to the United States illegally as children and have grown up, or in many cases have grown up in the U.S. So what to do about them? And so something apparently is being worked out now. We don't know what it is yet, but some kind of deal is likely to be announced in January. United Nations, there are 258 million international migrants. Okay, well, I'm glad that someone's counting them. Pope decries demographic winter, says nations have chosen sterility. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
There's a lot of factors there.
There are a lot of factors there. And I would say that, I'm not sure that the Pope is completely without responsibility there. But anyway, let's move on. And basically, and Father spoke about this. He says, it's the people who have lots of babies that are going to control the world in the future.
Yeah. His input was to have 12 children.
There you go.
But even amongst our own, right? That there's a lot of resistance there. There's
well, again, there are reality. People say it's reality.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
People putting reality before faith sometimes.
But Father said that even if you starve to death, even if you starve to death, still you'll be together in spirit world. Justice: a man gets 28 years in plot to behead Pamela Geller. A nuclear option amid, I just read that, anti-Trump hysteria, Obama treason exposed. Winning big league Anwar drilling approved. That's the Alaska National Wildlife Refuge, and it was part of the tax bill that this got approved. McConnell DACA decision by March. That's the delayed arrivals. Pro-American reformers gear up for battle. So that's going to be the big battle, I guess, in the next few months. Never Trump conservatives soften, hailed Trump's achievements. Okay, well, that's good. About time they came around. Hillary Clinton's approval ratings falls to record low.
All right.
Why are they still measuring these approval ratings? I don't know that.
Well, it's important she doesn't rear her ugly head in future elections. I mean, ultimately we have to put her behind bars, but at least she won't run. That would be a step forward.
A report: FBI stores insurance policy text referring to Russia probe. GOP Matt Gaetz, a rising star. The great Twitter purge is here, where Twitter now is purging alt-right accounts.
Wow. Sounds like China.
It does. Sarah Sanders does not know.
Did you read that article about I mean, China's leading the way in civilian surveillance.
Yes.
They are. I was reading this article where there's some ethnic group that
the Uyghurs. Uyghurs in the Western.
Right. Yeah, they have systematically removed everybody with any kind of opposing view, and thousands are missing. And it's based on social media data that they've collected. If you have any controversial posting, you just turn up missing.
Yes, and China says this is a good thing.
Yeah,
the Chinese Communist Party says, look, our system is better. And you can tell our system is better because we are a much more stable government, much more stable system. Look at all the confusion happening in America,
because of free speech.
They can't get it together.
Because of free speech.
Right. America cannot get it together, so they are weak. They're doomed to collapse. This is what the Soviet Union used to say as well.
Yeah.
Where is the Soviet Union today? Right. I remember, people like Brezhnev and Brzezinski, not Brzezinski, he was ours, but Brezhnev and who else did they have? Khrushchev and all these people used to say this about America.
Yeah.
That our system is stable and strong. America is weak because it's always divided. They're always arguing. And this is exactly what Xi Jinping is saying today, and what the Chinese official media is saying today. Is exactly the same thing. So therefore, they say everyone should follow us. And the American elite and the Western elite says, yes. They do that. Yeah, because they want to participate.
In that central control, yeah.
In that central control, yes. It's like a Ponzi scheme. For those at the top, it's fine.
Right.
The people at the top have no problem with the Ponzi
But even
scheme.
the people on the top, there's ultimately no honor in the den of thieves, right? They turn on.
What was the word we read about in Psalm? What about ultimately what happens to the wicked people?
That's right.
They don't have a good ending.
No, they don't.
Yes, but it's. Let's see, where were we? The Great Twitter Purge. Okay, Sarah Sanders does not know if Trump believes in UFOs. Women brawl in front of children at Indianapolis Chuck E. Cheese, Palm Springs, to remove racist trees separating black neighborhood from golf course. Bureaucrats continue to advance Obama's agenda, including on climate change. Oh, you know what we need to do? The national security assessment. We haven't done that, and it's important that we do that. So let me just remember that. Say something while I'm looking for this.
I was just reflecting Thomas Jefferson's quote, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery.
There you go.
In reference to China, I think we are much better off with our freedom of speech, freedom of religion, to have dangerous freedom. And an occasional mass shootings, that will happen in a free society with Second Amendment rights. So, but it's much preferred over peaceful slavery, where everybody is dominated through a centralized government. That is not something that I would want at all. I'd much prefer dangerous freedom.
Yes, President Trump published a new national security policy on Monday. This is an official, and I was going to look at the Wall Street Journal, but they won't let me unless I pay them money. The New York Times has an article, but that's not so good. It says it's a farce, which it's not. All right, let's look at the. This is the White House.
Which article?
No, I'm looking through. I'm searching articles on Google right now.
Okay.
Anyway, this is the reason I was reminded of it was because they took climate change out of the national security strategy.
Right. Good thing they changed the name to climate change and not global warming, because we have record snowfalls and record lowering temperatures.
I wish
that was a brilliant strategy.
Well, maybe on where I'll look. Sorry for this delay, folks, but I think this is.
How can you go wrong with a name like climate change? It's always changing.
It's always changing, yes.
It's a brilliant strategy to rake in millions and billions of dollars.
I should have come here in the first place. Yeah, on worldtribune.com, there's a good article about the new national security strategy. So let's go through this on it's the top story on worldtribune.com. Following is the full text of President Donald Trump's speech detailing a new national security strategy at the Reagan building. We're here today to discuss matters of vital importance to us all. I don't have much time left, do I? America's security, prosperity, and standing in the world. I want to talk about it when we've been in. Over the past 11 months, I've traveled tens of thousands. Throughout history, American people have always been a true source of American greatness. But to seize the opportunities of the future, we must first understand the failures of the past. For many years, our citizens watched as Washington politicians presided over one disappointment after another. Our leaders engaged in nation building abroad while they failed to build up and replenish our nation at home. They neglected the nuclear menace. Okay. And over profound objections of the American people, our politicians left our borders wide open. Last year, that began to change. Okay. This strategy recognizes that. So I'm proud to report that the entire world has heard the news and has already seen signs America is coming back. America is coming back strong. This strategy recognizes that whether we like it or not, we are engaged in a new era of competition. Upon my inauguration, I announced that the United States would return to a simple principle. The first duty of our government is to serve its citizens, many of whom have been forgotten. We are rebuilding our nation, our confidence, and our standing in the world. We have withdrawn the United States from job-killing deals such as the TPP. We will no longer such abuse. Following my trip to the Middle East, the Gulf states and other Muslim-majority nations joined together to fight radical Islamic ideology. The coalition to defeat ISIS has now recaptured almost 100% of the land once held by those terrorists in Iraq and Syria. Great job. Applause. Great job. Really good. Thank you. We have a great deal. In Afghanistan, our troops are no longer undermined by artificial timelines, and we no longer tell our enemies our plans, et cetera, et cetera. A nation without borders is not a nation. Our campaign of maximum pressure on the North Korean regime has resulted in the toughest ever sanctions. We have unified our allies in an unprecedented effort to isolate North Korea. However, there is much more work to do. America and its allies will take all necessary steps to achieve a denuclearization and ensure that this regime cannot threaten the world. This situation should have been taken care of long before I got to office, when it was much easier to handle, but it will be taken care of. We have no choice. And at home, we are keeping our promise and liberating the American economy. We have created more than 2 million jobs since the election. As the world watches, the world is indeed watching. We are days away from passing the historic tax cut for American families. This was back on Monday. Optimism has surged. Confidence has returned. With this new confidence, we also bring back clarity to our thinking. We are reasserting these fundamental truths. Okay, so here's the meat of the speech. A nation without borders is not a nation. A nation that does not protect prosperity at home cannot protect its interest abroad. A nation that is not prepared to win a war is a nation not capable of preventing a war. There you go.
Peace through strength.
A nation that is not proud of its history cannot be confident in its future. And a nation that is not certain of its values cannot summon the will to defend them. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, those are words that we need to think about quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Today, grounded in these truths, we are presenting to the world our new national security strategy. Based on my direction, this document has been in development for over a year. It has the endorsement of my entire cabinet. Our new strategy is based on a principle of realism, guided by our vital national interest and rooted in our timeless values. This strategy recognizes that, whether we like it or not, we are engaged in a new era of competition. We accept that vigorous military, economic, and political contests are now playing out around the world. We face rogue regimes that threaten the United States and our allies. We face terrorist organizations, transnational criminal networks, and others who spread violence and evil around the globe. We also face rival powers, Russia and China, that seek to challenge American influence, values, and wealth. Now, I wish you put Russia and China on different levels, because China is much more of a threat to America.
Huge. I would say 10 times greater threat.
We will attempt to build a new partnership with those and other countries, but in a manner that always protects our national interest. And so to succeed, we must integrate every dimension of our national strength, and we must compete with every instrument of our national power. But I think those 5 things that he listed: nation without borders is not a nation. Nation that does not protect prosperity at home cannot protect its interests abroad. A nation that is not prepared to win a war is a nation not capable of preventing a war. A nation that is not proud of its history cannot be confident in its future. And a nation that is not certain of its values cannot summon the will to defend them. I think we can call this a Trump doctrine.
Yeah.
And I think the media will increasingly call it that. This is really a new direction for American domestic and foreign policy, tying the two together. And it's really an important doctrine that Trump has put forward. All right, thank you very much. We've come to the end of our broadcast. I pray that President Trump will have a good day and that all of you will have a good day today. And I pray that the House will finally get that 1 yard remaining on the field and pass the tax bill today. I'm feeling it's going to work out well, but that's kind of a feeling because we really, a lot of these bills, you have to pass them in order to see what's in them. As Nancy Pelosi famously said about Obamacare. Look how that turned out.
Whoops.
Okay, well, have a good day. God bless, Godspeed, and may his kingdom come.
Adieu.